What's up everyone, I'm Matt Martin with The Grass Factor, and I wanted to take advantage of quarantine time to get out here, get some fresh air, and also cover 3 main points in this video. Today I want to talk about number 1, management strategies between fescue and warm season grass this time of year. Number 2, identify the most common weeds you're going to be seeing both in warm season and cool season grass. And number 3, strategizing over what our applications will look like on our first, second, and third rounds coming up. Hang on, we're going to dive deep into this. All right, so number 1, when we're dealing with cool season grass, we have 3 main points of interest right now. Number 1, fertilizer. As you can see, the cool season grass is green, it is actively growing, therefore we must be focusing on fertility. Remember, what we're doing now is building up for the stress we're going to be facing in the summer. So it's important that we attack it with a nutrient management style that is conducive for what's coming in the summer. Number 2, weed pressure. Right now is when we need to be getting down our pre-emergence. If you haven't, hurry up. And if you haven't started yet, especially if you're in the transition zone south, I would probably be looking at making the switch over to a product like dithiapyr. It's beginning to get a little far in to be just now starting with something like prodiamine. Number 3, broadleaf weed control or any post-emergent weed control. As you can see, what's in here primarily, we've got chickweed, we've got clover, we've got Poa trivialis. Now, we know as applicators, we have no control over Poa trivialis probably at scale. Tank mixing something like a new will put a hurt on it, but is it going to be the solution in actually controlling it? Probably not. You have to ask yourself, is performance return on investment worth the monetary investment to include a product like a new in your tank mixes this time of year? So what most people are going to be doing is focusing on a broadleaf weed control. With temperatures still hovering in the mid-50s, one thing you may want to do to give you a competitive advantage is use an ester-based formulation and or include PPOI inhibitors such as sulfentrazone, such as carfentrazone, such as pyriflufen ethyl. Now, when we're talking about warm season grass, we have to alter our thinking. Remember, it is not actively growing. I've scouted this field. I have seen some instances of green up, but as you look out across it, the green you primarily see is going to be from weed pressure. So if we look down here exactly with what weeds we're looking at, we've got mouse ear chickweed, we've got common chickweed, we have dandelions. These are all broadleaves and actively growing right now, so we can have a post-emergent solution for them. Again, just like we would on cool season grass, for warm season grass and controlling these types of weeds selectively, what we need to be looking at are the types of herbicides that will work well in these temperatures. Again, ester-based herbicides and or the inclusion of PPOIs. Again, carfentrazone, sulfentrazone, pyriflufen ethyl. Now, one thing everybody would love to do is have a single tank mix to be able to control both our grassy weeds and our broadleaf weeds. I can't tell you whether or not you should do that. Ultimately, it's up to your budget, it's up to your pocketbook whether or not that makes sense. In the event you want to tank mix it, what are some tank mix products you can include with your broadleaf weed control? Products like Revolver, Forum Sulfuron, products like Certainty, Sulfosulfuron, products like Monument, Trifloxysulfuron, or even one of the newer products like Negate that contains Rimsulfuron. So when we see weeds like this particular piece of ryegrass right here, even though it may be a pain to have to go back to the truck and pull out something like a backpack, the best way to save money in this instance would be to make your single application and then head back to your truck, grab a backpack, and do some spot applications on some difficult to control grassy weeds such as this. One of the other things we'll see right now is the emergence of our perennial grassy weeds. This right here is Dallas grass. This is not newly germinated Dallas grass. This is Dallas grass that was left over from last year that went dormant. It's a perennial. It does not die in the cold, it goes dormant. Now that we've started to reach soil temperatures, it's begun to emerge. Can you do something about this right now? Because we do not have a lot of green up in this field, spot applications of glyphosate are possible right now. I would stay away from the expensive herbicides like Tribute during this time frame, but if you want to go after it with something like glyphosate, at this time you can. Do not expect 100% control though. So when we're planning our first, second, and third applications, let's keep this in mind. Number one, in warm season grass, percentage of green up. In cool season grass, strategizing for what's coming in the heat. Number two, when we're developing a fertility plan, right now what we should be focusing on is color, maximizing root development. How do we do that? Remember, nitrogen will demand the uptake of all the other nutrients. So as you're applying nitrogen, you should also be supplying your other nutrients in the event your soil test says it's necessary. If you pull a soil test and you see you do have adequate P, adequate K, then probably no real concern in applying those right now. For warm season grass, as we begin to get to that 40%, 50% green up, remember, we have to begin getting the green top growth developed so that way carbohydrate replenishment can take place. Carbohydrate replenishment is what's going to give you year-over-year success with your Bermuda grass. How do you do that? Primarily, nitrogen is going to play the major role in that. Now, as you move into your third application on Bermuda grass, probably by that time, that's when you need to make sure you do have your other nutrients in line if your soil test says you need them. And then finally, remember with your herbicide programs, managing cost to performance ratio. I can't tell you what's going to work best in your situation. It's all according to your weather, soil temperatures, ambient air temperatures, and soil moisture levels. So you have to determine which is going to be the best product. The cooler it is outside, esters will be your better bet. The warmer it is outside, amines will be your safer bet. But in that same vein, it all comes down to managing cost to performance. I hope you learned something in this video today. Please hit the subscribe button, leave me a comment down below with any questions. Thank you.